Hello, welcome to my channel where we discuss the NCC laws of cricket. Today we will be discussing Law 9, preparation and maintenance of the playing area. We all know that preparation of the playing area is not really our job. It is ground authority who is responsible, and only after the toss and during the match we will be concerned with it, and we will regulate every action which is done with regard to maintenance of the playing area, which is the pitch and the surrounds. Broadly speaking, let me list out the tasks that are permitted. First of all, watering is simply not permitted. Watering of the pitch is simply not permitted. The other tasks which may be carried out subject to certain conditions. There are some conditions will apply. Rolling, clearing debris from the pitch is allowed. There are means to do it. Then mowing of the pitch and the outfield are maintenance tasks. Remarking of creases is a maintenance task. Maintaining of footholds is a maintenance task. Securing of footholds and maintenance of the pitch. All of these tasks are the ones that are permitted. We will go over them one by one. Prominent amongst all the tasks that are performed, which we see very often, the first and most prominent is the rolling of the pitch, which you must know that the rolling of the pitch is an option. It is not compulsory. The option lies with the batting side, the captain of the batting side at that time when his innings is about to start. That will be at his option. The duration is a maximum of 7 minutes. That means he is allowed to have rolling less than that time, and he can also have the choice of rollers if more than one is available. At several grounds there will be 2 or 3 rollers available, some of the prominent grounds. And like I told you when we spoke about law 2, that you would have already have ascertained from the groundsman what are the rollers available for the match, and have identified them, which is the light one, which is the medium one, which is the heavy one. Then he has a choice. If there is no choice, there is only one roller, can very well happen, he has to use that. Also, since it is an option, he can decide to forego the use of roller. Now, the rolling is allowed at the start of each day's play. Suppose a 5-day game, all 5 days, the first rolling prior to or it is done, it must have been done, we don't know. It doesn't concern us. But the rest of the days, at the start of each day's play, the rolling has to be done of the pitch, and the rolling at the option of the batting side again, that also is an option of the batting side. He is allowed to roll the pitch, the captain is allowed to roll the pitch at the start of each innings. Now, at the start there are 4 innings to the game, but not at the start. As a general rule, he is not allowed to the choice of roller at the start of the first innings of the game. Other 3 we will have to allow. Here he is not allowed. Even then, even this general rule being that only 3 out of those 4 innings will be allowed, there are some circumstances where he may be allowed the use of the roller. That is, when after the toss the start is delayed. If after the toss the start is delayed and the umpires are of the view that the pitch conditions have been affected by the delay, they will allow him the roller. To put it in an example form, you come to the game and it has been raining, on the way also it has been raining, and you come to the ground and you got wet conditions. We have delayed the toss, we have not played. We go on to say 11 o'clock, we order the toss to take place. We tell them that 11:30 we are going to start, and now the captain of the side who has opted to bat first demands a roller. In these circumstances, he will not be allowed it, because the delay has not taken place after the toss. The delay was right from the beginning. He won't be allowed to use the roller. The option is not available to him. But whereas another example is that the two captains do the toss and one of them wins. He says, "Look, I'm batting. We bat first." They go in, and while they are padding up, there is rain, and there is rain that covers the court, and the delay is considerable. Under these circumstances, I as an umpire would consider that the pitch is affected by the delay. I would allow the roller. Where it is rain. But where I will not allow is, for instance, the delay is very small and no water, the pitch has not taken any water over it. The same example, let me continue. The toss has taken place. He informs that he is going to bat first, and a bit of fog rolls onto the ground. Goes across the ground early morning, a bit of fog rolls with winds and moves across the ground. There is a delay of about 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. In these circumstances, I as an umpire, we, the umpires, will inform of you that no, the delay has not affected the pitch. Therefore, we will still, though the delay has taken place, because it has not, we consider it has not had any effect on the pitch, we will not allow the roller. So this is how the rule regarding rolling of the pitch before the start of each innings applies. Whereas there is no such thing for start of each day's play. It is only at the start of the innings. Now, choice of rollers, as I mentioned, the timing permitted for rolling is a maximum of 7 minutes before play begins on any day. Maximum of it shall be started not earlier than 30 minutes before the start. If it is a 10:30 start, the roller will not come onto the pitch before 10 o'clock. It has to be started only at 10 or after that. And it can also not start later than 10 minutes from the 10:20. 10:30 start. The rolling must start between the times 10 o'clock and 10:20. The captain is entitled to tell you, can I have the roller at 10:15 please, for 5 minutes? Perfectly alright. May I have the roller at 10:20 for 7 minutes? Yes, perfectly alright. He won't get a roller to start on the pitch after 10:20. After 10:20, that is not allowed. And again, he has the choice of the roller. He can tell you, I would like the right one, I would like the heavy one, I would like the medium one, depending on availability. This is what the rule. These are all the rules concerning the rolling of the pitch. Now, clearing of debris. For a long time, clearing of debris wasn't a rule, but it used to be generally followed. But now, for some time now, it has been made compulsory that before the roller is put on, before the time for the rolling, the pitch shall be cleared of all debris. Now, this may be between innings also, or it may be at the beginning of the day's play, because the idea is that the small pieces of stone which may come out while play is on and which may spread onto the pitch, if you roll on that, it is likely to cause damage to the pitch rather than, so what is the maintenance process becomes a damaging process. So it is necessary to sweep the pitch. Generally, a soft broom is used to sweep the pitch, and all the debris is cleared before the time for rolling is started. Before the rolling is done, opted for, or whether not opted for, it has to be done. Sweeping has to be done. It is a compulsory action. That is an option. Sweeping is a compulsory action. Has to be done. Sweeping shall normally be done by broom, like I told you. But if the conditions are such that the sweeping itself can cause damage to the pitch, then the umpire will not allow it. However, sweeping of the pitch, clearance of debris by hand is permitted at any time and can be carried out at any time, at all times. Between the innings, like I mentioned, that rolling of the clearance of debris shall be done, and during the course of the play, clearance of debris by hand is permitted at any time. There is no prohibition at all. The umpires will permit it. There is no problem. When I used to bat, when I used to play, I had this thing about a lot of straw I used to pick up while batting. I used to pick up a lot of straw, and we used to play on open ground where it used to be sometimes windswept, and a lot of debris would come onto the pitch. So that is permitted. That is a maintenance task I would do honorably, because it would also help me settle down and focus on the game. Alright, now coming to mowing of the pitch. Now mowing of the pitch. The mowing of the pitch shall be, all mowing before the start of the match shall be the sole responsibility of the ground authority. We are not looking into that. It may very well happen that when we come onto the ground, it is before the toss and we find that they are still mowing the pitch or rolling the pitch. We don't care. But when the ground comes into our charge, after that point we will be concerned. All subsequent mowing shall be carried out under the supervision of the umpires. We will have to supervise the rolling. Generally, we used to find before the time of the fourth umpire and the third umpire, the umpires, there used to be only two umpires. We would, in the morning, generally when we come in, we would tell the groundsman that the previous day, keep the mower ready. We will, as we come in, either before changing or after changing, we would come in, stand there talking about things, pitching the stumps for the start of the day's play, and checking it that there is proper. At that time the mowing would go on and we would supervise it. We used to multitask there. We used to do it. Nowadays we find that the fourth umpire has taken over this task. Even then I think match umpire should look into this aspect. Now the pitch and the outfield both shall be mown on every day of the match. However, the rules allow that in case for certain reasons it is not possible, the groundsman comes and tells you that it is not possible for me to, it's quite a task, a big ground, and if he doesn't have the staff or the equipment to do it, he might come and tell you, sir, it is a 5-day game, I will mow the outfield once in every alternate day. So the third and the fifth day only, not on the first day, not second. It will be done say on the second day and then the fourth day, like that. He may come and tell you that, and this you have to communicate as part of your pre-match conference, that this is what the groundsman told us, so that you are aware. The mowing has to be completed before the rolling time starts. Say that it is 30 minutes. It stands to reason that the mowing must be completed by that time, because the captain may opt for rolling to start at 10 o'clock. Stands to reason. And then the sweeping will be done and the rolling will be done. That is how it will progress. One of the things that I might tell you from the practical point of view, that you need to observe on day one. You need to observe on day one at what level the mower is set. The mower always has a setting of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The blade settings. Check at what position it is and make sure that it is applied likewise, and not that more cutting is done on the subsequent some day and less cutting on another day. Some tricks can be played by the home team there. So try and be alert to that. Check the setting, make a note of the setting, both of you, and continue with that setting throughout the rest of the game, to ensure that, in order to ensure that the conditions of the pitch are the same for all the 5 days of the game. Similarly, it applies to the outfield. Watering of the pitch, I told you, is simply not allowed. Now mowing of the outfield should be completed before, latest by 15 minutes before the start. You are allowed a little more time for mowing of the pitch. We know that it has to be finished by the time the roller is to apply. Remarking of creases shall be remarked wherever either umpire considers it necessary. Normally, this is not remarked during playing time. We do it perhaps in some conditions only during the intervals. or maybe at drinks intervals conditions, but there is nothing to prohibit an umpire from, in extreme circumstances, to stop play, call in the groundsman, and ask him to hold a play to do it. Rarely done, but only when he considers necessary. But here, the law allows the umpire to do it. Remember that. And hardly ever done, but allowed. Maintenance of footholds. Now, in wet conditions, our job becomes doubly difficult. There are footholds, their maintenance, wherever they may be on the pitch, in the square, or anywhere, they can be dried and cleared off and dried in order to facilitate play. There may be water. Footholds will carry water in them, so they can be dried and covered and all that, filled in anywhere. Now, as far as it may be on the pitch area also. As far as returfing of footholds and use of quick setting fillings is generally allowed in a multi-day match, and which takes place at the end of the play on any particular day, because that generally takes some time to settle down, and quick setting fillings need some time to dry, depending on how they are, how good they are, the chemicals that are used in it. And now we've also seen that in some test match, I remember seeing, perhaps it was in Australia, that the groundsman came in with a square of turf, removed something and put it there. It was done very, very fast. But returfing, and this generally is a function which is done at the end of the play, when play is stopped for the day and in preparation for the next day. Now, this returfing and quick setting fillings is also limited to the delivery stride of the bowler, the holes created by the delivery stride of the bowler, where to that extent only. So what happens if this is a crease, the delivery stride generally goes beyond the popping crease, so it might go to that extent, but this returfing will not go beyond that delivery stride. You are not supposed to returf that area. You can clean it, dry it, but not returf that area. There is a prohibition. It is limited to the delivery stride of the bowlers. That is all it is. You got to take care of that aspect also. But like I told you, this will be done at the end of the day, and we have seen that somebody has returfed if the conditions allow, and it can be quickly done. Nothing like it. That finishes this particular law, maintenance and of the playing area, and all the aspects of maintenance of the playing area are covered. And it is important for us to know what can be allowed when. All the time frame of everything is given there in the laws, and the umpire is supposed to follow it. Thank you. As regards securing of footholds and maintenance of the pitch, I might add that the law allows that whenever you resume after wet conditions, you are allowed the use of to secure your footholds. The bowler might be slipping, or the batsman has slightly slippery conditions underfoot. He can use sawdust, provided that there is no damage to the pitch is caused, and that law 41 unfair play is not. Now here this is not limited to the within the crease area, because naturally the follow through of the bowler has to be also secured with sawdust. You allow that beyond the delivery stride also. The delivery stride limitation applies to the returfing of footholds and the use of quick setting fillings. Now, since this is mostly an end of the day affair, during the day, just a practical tip from me, during the day, these footholds made by bowlers, depending on conditions, can be very, very dangerous for the bowler. And sometimes they tend to land in the same spot. It's a matter of habit. They keep banging their front foot down in the same spot, and that hole can become very deep, and their foot would rock there, and very dangerous for their ankle. They can hurt themselves very badly. From the practical point of view, what you can do, I suggest that you do is, in one of the intervals, what you can ask for a small scraper and reduce that hole somewhat from the edges, reduce it, and try to flatten it out and bring it as close as possible to the surface beyond. You cannot do anything more than that. Reduce it, and that I found it works. It works pretty well. That you reduce it, that bowler is no longer in danger of twisting his ankle. Otherwise, he can result in very serious injury for the bowler. Having said that, there is one experience I wanted to share where I was the fourth umpire in a game, India versus South Africa at Calcutta. Now, I was the fourth umpire, and naturally the maintenance task fell to me. We had, though to begin with it seemed like quite a good surface, but we found at the end of day one that the soil was quite crumbly. The soil was quite crumbly, and especially in the area behind the creases at both ends, there used to be a lot of dust and debris coming out there. Now, that being the case, we had to renew the creases at every drinks also. It was so bad because they would go off. And naturally, now I had set up my team quite well. Both ends, we had on ourselves a small bucket and a small pickup tray and a small brush. So immediately to both ends, our team would rush. 3 people would rush off there to each end and pick up the debris, and from behind the popping. We couldn't do it go ahead on the pitch itself, but here at the creases, because remarking creases and dust is no use. It will go off in another minute only. So we had to clear it of debris there before we remarked and redrew the creases. 2 guys would hold the string there and another would, and we would finish it all in 5 minutes. And believe me, we used to pick up half a bucket full of debris at each end. It was that bad. But somehow we managed. I think we did a good job there. And this is how you have to adapt yourself. And it was a good experience in the maintenance, cleaning of the area and all that. That's all from me regarding the maintenance of the pitch. We will be talking about Law 10, covering the pitch separately, and then which is a small law. After that, we have a bigger law, Law 11, the intervals, which will have to be dealt with separately. Hello. I thought that we might finish with the Law 10 covering the pitch in this session itself, because it's a pretty small law and both of these things are connected to each other, maintenance of the pitch and the covering. The laws regarding covering of the pitch says that unless it is determined otherwise before the toss, full cover shall be applied. The captains are free to decide no covers. We are absolutely fine with that. But unless they make any decision, the default is that full cover of the pitch shall be done. Now, even a full covering of the pitch has a definition. That definition is that the whole pitch shall be covered, the 66 feet, and this will extend up to 4 feet beyond the bowling crease. Bowling crease to bowling crease, 66 feet and 4 feet beyond. So you can visualize that the entire up to the end of the return creases, that area has to be covered. And in addition, if they have the covers, the bowler's run up will also be covered. The two teams and we have seen playing conditions are such nowadays that the whole of the square is covered. In some places it goes even beyond that, and perhaps in some places the whole ground is covered in order to make sure that play is resumed on time. So there can be an agreement to do anything the two sides want. If there is no agreement, this default shall apply, which we have to follow. Now, removal of the covers should be done later on. Removal of the cover should be done as early as possible on every date the match is to be played, as weather conditions allow us. But like I told you that try and decide on a time for removal of the covers. I would advise you to do that. That if a 10 o'clock game, maybe 8:30 might be the time. You won't be there to supervise it, of course, but at least tell them that the cover should be removed at 8:30 a.m. every day, regardless of which is the team batting. Otherwise, I have seen it happen even in first class cricket in India that the home team might remove the covers early if the other visitor is batting, and remove it a little late if the home team is batting. So try and eliminate that, avoid that, preempt that kind of thing by doing it. And in pre-match, we discussed this. If you remember, I mentioned this to you in the pre-match, the Law 2, when we were discussing Law 2 in the pre-match meeting with umpires, with the captains. Now, of course, before the match, this was all during the match, but before the match, the grounds authorities may do whatever he wants, which will include full covers. But if if there are full covers used to cover the whole playing area and all that, he still has to make sure that he facilitates the captain's inspection of the pitch and outfield, and the umpires in their duties. He has to remove them, and their duties with regard to the pitch and the crease marking and all of that. He has to facilitate that. He may use full covers, but he has to still facilitate that. This is as regards covering of the pitch is concerned. These are the regulations. Alright, we end this session here, and in the next session we will be discussing Law 11, intervals, which is pretty long and very interesting, and there are a lot of detailed provisions, and I would advise you to have a reading of Law 11 before you click on the episode next time. Thank you. Bye.